Hello and welcome to another Dark Tide video. Today I'll be showing you my best Zealot build. Now there's a lot to cover with the Zealot, so I'm going to have to be quick, but I'll show you on screen with the talents the two different builds I'm going to be using. One's for support, another one's for DPS, but the idea is going to be the same. Now starting with the dueling sword, you're going to want to dump cleave because this weapon's not necessarily made to cleave a bunch of enemies. Even though you're going to be using light attacks most of the time to kill chaff, it doesn't really give you too much to get max out cleave, so I'm just gonna dump that. Carapace and Unyielding for the larger HP enemies like crushers and bosses. Uncanny Strike because it also affects the flamer, so it can basically go through armor a lot easier, which is very nice on a flamethrower. And Riposte because it helps with our talents, which are going to be Blazing Piety, and getting that started because it takes a second to get at the max potential of this build. Now, for the Flamer, you're going to use Flak and Unyielding and Dump Mobility because it's already a really slow weapon. Flak because it's like there's a bunch of flak armored enemies in the game, way more than any other type, like unarmored, surprisingly. And Unyielding because it's gonna help you kill those bulwarks, which are gonna be very problematic. Everlasting Flame and Blaze Away, they help. It's kind of confusing because they work together very well, even though you may not think they do, because it takes 10% of the magazine, and Everlasting Flame gives you more ammo, but it's based off of how long you're shooting, not necessarily how much of the magazine is gone, which is very misleading. I think Fat Shark can do better, but you could replace Everlasting Flame with Penetrating Flame, but because we already have Uncanny Strike, I don't think that's necessary. And Blaze Away, obviously, for the extra damage. Now for the Curios, all of them are going to be the same. Toughness as the main perk, and toughness and combat ability regen, and block efficiency. The main reason I'm choosing block efficiency is because you're a melee build and you're not going to be in the back too much unless you're using the flamer, so you want to be able to not take damage, and dodging doesn't always work, so you want to be able to block. And for the talents, I chose Anointed in Blood because it gives you more damage on the flamer, which is always nice. Disdain because it gets you to Second Wind and Duelist, which more damage more toughness. Sorry, it's a great way to get toughness, and one gives you more damage. And Persia Unclean mainly for bosses. Blades of Faithful. There's a little tip I'll show you at the end with why Blades of Faithful is very nice with the flamer. And also, on other things, you want to be able to take out further away enemies, and the flamer can't do that. But if you're on console, I'd take away Blades of Faithful and use Demolition Grenade. But I think Blades of Faithful is the most, meta. You want to come down to Sustain Assault for the extra damage, and Holy Revenant because Until Death leaves you at 1 HP, which is not very good when you're the last one alive and you don't want to take any toughness damage because it can bleed through and kill you. And come down to Against All Odds for the extra damage and cleave. And whatever this is, it gives you extra revive speed. The only reason I'm taking this is so I can get to abolish the blasphemers. And then Beacon of Purity, which is going to be very helpful on your Havoc runs, where you're going to be dealing with like goop on the ground and rotten armor gas and a bunch of other shit that can really fuck you up, like the bombs of the captains. But if you're wanting a more general build, you could take this away and come over here and then take away Prime Target, which I'll show you in a second. Is just more toughness, but since you have Second Wind, you're already getting a bunch of toughness. and you'll get Benediction. But the most meta, I think, is Beacon of Purity. Chorus, you could choose Fury of Faithful by doing this, and then taking away Pious Cutthroat, because it only really affects Chorus really well, because this already has really good damage, ability regen. It takes like 30 seconds, whereas Chorus takes a minute. But I chose Chorus because it's just a stop everything button, and that's invaluable, especially when you can get it up faster with Pious Cutthroat. And then you want to come down to the right and then use Hubris and Riposte. One for, this is for more damage, and this is for damage reduction, which is really helpful. You want Enduring the Faithful, damage reduction. Scourge and Blinded by Blood. Scourge gives you a bunch of critical chance, and even more than Blazing Piety does, but Blinded by Blood, more damage, which you always need. Blazing Piety, that's the main thing. Righteous Warrior for more critical hit chance, and Stalwart, because it also is a great way of grabbing more damage reduction and toughness regen. Now, the tip I'm going to show you at the end is when you are pulling out the Flamer, let's say there's a bunch of enemies coming to you and you're trying to dodge out the way, and you need to be able to fire them all very fast. You pull it out and then throw out your knife, and you can fire very fast. And this is really helpful, especially when there's Crushers and Maulers, because they walk really fast when they're doing their overhead, and you need to be able to move and shoot very easily. And there's a table behind me, so I couldn't dodge and show you, but that's the biggest part. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.